about 100 hertz worth of diffusion. He then came up with the theory of the quadratic residue diffuser after a lot of research. And the quadratic residue diffuser works on a prime number sequence which affects a higher amount either end, a higher amount than the lowest frequency can be anything up to 4 octaves above. He did this using a modulo sequence, which is basically, as we've done, the remainder of a number after you've deducted n squared, which is any number between 0 and infinity, divided by a prime number gives you a number which then you take the remainder of and then turn that into a depth in inches. The quadratic residue diffuser works by a quarter. The deepest well is a quarter the size of the target frequency, and as it goes in, it changes the phase of it and scatters it out. It revolves around the depth of the well and then comes out but in a scattered, diffuse way by the all gets bounced off in different times instead of just being bounced off a flat surface. They're placed around the room in certain places. So if you're in this main studio, they would be the early reflection points on the back walls, on the either side of where the speakers would be, as a mirror image, to then break up the sound. Otherwise, you can get bouncing off of the walls, which then taints the sound and can give phase issues and other things like that. They work by you figure out. You choose the frequency by initially using nodes and things like that to come up with the problem frequencies in a room. And then you put that into this equation where C is a speed of light, F is frequency, which then equals X. You then times that by 39 to turn it into inches. And then you divide that by 4 to get the quarter of the wavelength. And then that comes up with a number which is the amount of inches. It's all in inches and things because this all the maths was done before the metric system really came into effect in this country. It was still used in America. You then put that number against this chart to find what you pick the deepest well depth from the other one, so in inches. So if it was the deepest well was 17, you would then find that 17 correlates with this one on here, which is prime 19, which then you would use this sequence at the bottom with struts coming out in between each one, so you make physical wells, and then you would use that as a sequence, because that's one whole sequence. You would use those around the room in certain places to then diffuse the sound, which would then change the acoustic properties of the room. Having that amount of wooden or whatever you use to acoustically treat the room would also affect the RT60 time. So by just having the say wood in the room as the diffusers, you're actually taking down the RT60 time by quite a lot. So in theory, the diffusers that you originally pick to choose to treat a room with, once you put them in the room's changed already. So they are not, in theory, 100% effective, because as you're putting them into the room, you're not only affecting the frequency, you're also changing the RT60 time. But because of the certain, say, the back plate of the diffuser to take the weight, would therefore make the room slightly smaller, so that you're actually changing the room's dimensions anyway, but they are proven to diffuse sound evenly over a space of about 4 octaves. I think that's very much it.
Great, that was really good.
Now that's my pile of bike.
The camera's still rolling.
It's a phrase. Crap. It's taken from space. First episode from space.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we might just have to talk a bit louder just so I didn't realise there was an early years class came on it.